explore everything you need to become the best possible version of you. This is Sandee Sgarlata, and today I've got some exciting news for our dedicated listeners. We've just launched our exclusive members only portal. This is your ticket to a world of additional content designed to deepen your understanding and engagement with the Happiness Solved mission. To learn more about all of the exciting benefits, stay tuned until the end of the episode where I will explain in greater detail. For those interested now, head over to happinesssolved.supercast.com. Today is another amazing conversation, so let's get started. Karen DeLoach, what an honor and a privilege to have you on my show today. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm great, and it is wonderful to be here. You are an amazing podcaster with a great result, and it's a privilege for me to be here with you. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
well, thank you. Thank you. So, for the audience, we have the pleasure of speaking with Karen, who is an artist, an art mento, actor, and creativity specialist. She teaches art in college using the textbooks that she's written. And the really cool thing about what she does is that with her courses and her classes, they help people overcome negative mindsets, perfectionistic paralysis, painful past traumas, and crushed right brain stagnation through a program called Art as Self-Therapy, Wellness Through Creativity. We're going to dive into all that because the perfectionistic paralysis, I mean, that can really, like that right there, I think we could have a 2-hour conversation about, right?
Absolutely.
But before we dive into all of this, tell us about your backstory. How did you get to this place in your life where you're empowering so many people through your skill and your craft?
Well, thank you for that. I've always been interested in art. I was the child with the crayons on the wall, coloring on the walls, my mom, of course, was not happy and I spent a lot of time scrubbing walls, not knowing that eventually I was going to be doing murals.
Wow.
So I feel like there's hints about our creative life when we're very young. I was doing plays and turning the playground into a space station, and the heroes were the astronauts and the space invaders, and then the damsels in distress because it was the 50s. So then when I went into my 50s, I went back to school for filmmaking. Theater was my minor, and I've always loved being involved in the theater. So a lot of times you can get these hints from your early childhood of what kind of person is your right brain creative. And I've been an artist and a filmmaker and actor, but I also experienced the negative feedback from my college years. I could draw, I had good drawing instruction, but when it came time for painting, they just wanted me to do abstract expressionists, and I wanted to paint people and scenery, and it wasn't acceptable. They used four-letter words to describe my painting to the point where it literally shut me down for 20 years. I couldn't finish a painting. I ended up in sculpture for graduate school, and I still love working with clay and sculpture, but I eventually had babies, wanted to do their portraits, and I couldn't complete. I couldn't make myself go through the finish line for these paintings. And it was so subconscious, I didn't understand. I'd come into agreement with their professor's opinion about me and my work. And it took getting mentored and having someone who had been to the Chicago Art Institute, who taught me the fundamentals of actually how to paint, that gave me the confidence I needed and the skills I needed to then take my work where I wanted it to go, which isn't necessary if you're doing abstractions. But when you want things to look like a person or look like a place or a thing, then those are necessary skills. And so that's not only made me a better artist, but it's made me a better teacher. And I love sharing with people so that they too can develop the best techniques and skills for what they want to do as a creative. And only
Mm.
in the last couple of years, because of some experiences I've had, I can tell these stories if we have time, of people and seeing how the power of art heals. heals them mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I just see more and more, especially in our AI driven culture, which is very left brain, logical, and it has incredible uses. Obviously, it's not something we want to run away from, but not be afraid of either, as we realize no AI can replace our right brain brilliance. Half of our brain was made for creativity. And your topic is about happiness. Well, guess what? When you engage in the creative arts of any kind or look at them, you release that happiness chemical, serotonin. And that's just miraculous to me, that there is literal science to back the power of art to heal.
Wow. Oh, for sure. Because I know for me, I'm a creative person, but not necessarily artistically. Now I'm starting to tap into that because Karen, when I was in the fifth grade, my favorite class was art class. And I remember doing this project, and I was so proud of this project. It was some sort of, whatever they have you do in fifth grade, but I was so proud of it. And I'll never forget showing the teacher what I did. And I was so proud. And at that age that, I was 10 or 11, because I was a young, I was in kindergarten at the age of 4, and then I turned 5. So I was very young the whole time through my, years of elementary school, middle school, high school. So you really need that positive reinforcement. Well, I showed the art teacher my project, and she looked at me and she said, "This is terrible. This is terrible." And just like, and that's all. And I literally was like trying not to cry.
Hmm.
It like broke my heart.
That's
And
awful. I'm so sad that that happened to
right,
you. I'm so
right?
sorry, because you know what? That little girl whose heart got broken, because our right brains are so sensitive, and
Yeah,
they're sitting there, half of our brain trivialized, wounded, unutilized, when it is still there to be accessed to bring us into the full mental clarity and brilliance we were created to have. So that creativity that you experience is still there.
yeah,
And getting healing for those wounds, and shutting down that left brain bully that says you're not good enough. Remember Mrs. So and so
right,
said you weren't good enough, and
right,
it's saying shut up. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to learn how to be the best I can be. But creativity is for everyone, not just the artistes of the world.
right.
We don't understand that this is part of who we are and who we were created to be. And so as I've been studying the research and studying the science behind it, I get more and more excited and passionate, because it's real and people can have their life changed, and their mental capacity, their emotional release. Because if this happiness chemical is ready to be released every time we look at beauty, look at a sunset, look at a beautiful painting, have gorgeous things around us, or even beautiful clothing, or the things that bring us joy, that serotonin is being released. And so the more aware we are, the more purposeful we are about looking and enjoying what's around us, the happier we are going to be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know. And like for me, like I shoved that down so deep that it wasn't even until in the last 5, 10 years, I don't recall, that it came up. And I was like, huh. I'm like, interesting. So just within the last 6 months, I bought like a watercolor set. And I was like, you know what? I'm only going to spend like no more than $25, because I have this habit of, oh, I'm going to do this and I'll just buy everything and it'll never get used. I was like, you know what? I'll spend like $25. I'll get the minimum. And I watched a YouTube course, a free, just on YouTube. I pulled up, and I tell you what, it felt so good. It felt so good. Because it does.
Oh,
You're just activating that, parts of your brain that you're not used to using.
it's
Yeah.
true. Just to give you an example of what I've studied, 5-year-olds. Okay, you ask a room of 5-year-olds, do you want to color? Do you want to dance? Do you want to sing? Do you want to bang on the drums? Do you want to do a little act in the yard? Almost 100% are going to say yes. But you ask a room of 15-year-olds the same question, maybe one will say yes. I just finished a giant painting, just want to show. I mean, I have to keep myself. I'm not just a teacher, I'm an artist.
Right.
These are the things that drive my passion. And when I teach, I don't just teach left brain art history. Have you ever talked to somebody who took an art history course that was so boring they slept through the slides? I want to cry. The same thing with your teacher that told you your artwork was bad. You just like, what are you doing here? You're hurting people's lives.
I
You know,
know.
when art history, learning what our culture has developed through its history and being able to find an opinion. This is I come from rural South Carolina, and my students, most of them haven't had an art class before and probably aren't gonna. I'm their one shot. So I consider it my passion and my dream to not just let them see these masterpieces from our history, but find a personal opinion. What do you like? They have an opinion about what music they like, right? Or what
Yeah.
movies they like. Why can't they have an opinion about what art they like? They get credit for going to a gallery, museum. Many of them have never even been, even to local ones, and I make them go, make them. Most of them end up having such a positive experience that they can't believe how much they've improved in their own skills just in these, few couple of months that I have with them. So that's what my book is. My book, Art History and Appreciation, was written for them, for people that, don't ever identify as artists, and they don't want to know every artist from art history, and they want to know some local people, maybe some contemporary artists that they can relate to, that maybe have their skin color or their national background, and they, wow, this is somebody I can relate to, and
Yeah.
look at their work and how they, or photographers that have something personal that they're showing that is from their own angst. These kids are like, what? I can see art that shares my pain and my passion and what I've gone through, my struggles. And so, it is so beautiful what can happen when people get excited about their own creative life. And it has so many ways to be manifested, even musically, or that scientists are saying that when you sing in the shower, you are actually developing these connections between life, brain, and you can get this thought that solves a problem just singing in the shower, because you don't care what anybody says or who's listening, right? You're just, singing, having a good time, and there's neural pathways developing and serotonin being released. And you feel good. You're starting your day with a song on your lips, and it's
Wow.
beautiful.
Love it. Love it. So what can people do to help connect the right brain and the left brain? Is there specific exercises, or are there specific types of art that's simple that you can do? I mean, I have like a mandala coloring book, because a mandala is like a
Absolutely.
spiritual
Oh, yeah.
symbol. And then I have these colored pencils and I'll play around with that. And so what kind of things can people do that you
Well, that's a wonderful example. I mean, that's a wonderful example. Now, here's something very simple, and everybody can do this, is take a walk, a stroll.
Mm,
Not with your Fitbit watch, which is, guess what? Left brain, right? It's not about your aerobics time. It also only takes between 15 and 20 minutes. This doesn't have to be hours a day. But on this walk, you're going to look around. You're going to smell the freshness of the air. You're going to notice the birds twittering. You're going to see the tree trunks because maybe there's no leaves anymore, or there's crunching underneath your feet, or you find a park and you hear children playing. And there is something supernatural that happens as you just let your mind relax. Your body is just strolling. It's not on a power walk. It's looking and noticing the clouds, the sky, the weather, the temperature. You're listening, you're smelling, you're tasting, you're touching. Those are all connecting. The actual walk is left brain, and the
okay.
observation is right brain. Now that you could take that to the next level and perhaps bring a sketchbook or a journal, sit on a bench for a few minutes and just let your thoughts just flow. Just let it go
Mm,
flow. Not purposeful, I'm writing a chapter of my book. It's
right.
a different time. It is still creative. It's still right brain, but it's a different thing when you just let it go, or you doodle. You just bring that sketchbook, and you're not going to draw, the children you're seeing. You don't want to draw strangers' children without their permission. Not a good idea. But just, letting your pen or pencil just flow and see what happens, or outline the leaf that just fell, and draw around that leaf on your paper. It's so easy to restore and stir up your right brain. It's amazingly easy, but it needs to happen every day, 15, 20 minutes, purposefully. Just what can I do today? And there's so many ways, percussion, music, singing. I'm a worshiper. I love putting on a favorite song and just dancing. I mean, nobody has to see me dancing. I'm almost 70 years old, so nobody needs to see me dancing, but I love it. I touch base with my creator and have a great time. And that's one of my joys is dancing. I embarrassed all my kids in church when they were little dancing, but I'm older now. They're older now. Nobody needs to see that. My husband's a musician and a singer and a writer, and also painter. So we've got a lot of creativity. I'm in Germany right now visiting my sons who are musicians.
Oh,
They're
wow.
here as musicians. They do their own videos for their music videos. They one of them is also writing children's books. They've married beautiful German women and given me a couple of beautiful grandbabies, and they're so creative with these children. I'm just love seeing that pass on, generationally. This
Yeah.
being purposeful, and they're going to get plenty of left brain training without a doubt, especially in all of our school systems. What they're missing is that keeping that right brain vibrant and alive, and releasing that joy and happiness in our lives.
I love it. Dancing, that's my thing too. And I always like to tell people you have to have that one song. What is that one song
Yeah,
that just like your theme song, right? And I know I have my theme song, and when I hear that playing, I sing it like, and I dance like nobody's watching because I can't really hold a good tune when I'm singing, but I don't care, right? Like
right,
it's
that's right.
just it just fills you up, and you're just, yeah, it literally changes your state of being. Number
Mhm.
one, right? It can reduce your stress, change your state of being, but the benefits for your brain, I really wasn't even aware of.
I know it's really been so revolutionary this last couple of years as I've studied the science. I'm like, I got science to back up this, crazy right brain people. And
That's
we
right.
tend to be off the beaten path. We're already thinking outside the box, and you know, I don't apologize for that. The problem is we now have a culture that can have that left brain, a lot of the jobs replaced with
Right.
AI. So
Yeah.
as people are, even older people that have been in their positions for a long time and achieved a great deal of success, are in fear. What's going to happen next? And I get a lot of my writing from Chat GPT, for goodness sakes. I'm trying to embrace the technology, not shy away from it, but it still will never, never, never replace
No,
the right brain creativity and the soul of a human being. It just won't. We don't have to be afraid of it.
no,
Use
we
it,
don't.
love it, and then find ways to be your best creative so that you are operating in that problem solving outside the box that AI can't keep up with. Even
That's
the
right.
art programs, they can make beautiful pictures. And you can look at it and say, all right, it's a beautiful picture. What's missing? And somehow inside intuitively, there's that soul part
That's
missing
right.
from it's just a computer did it. And they
That's
can do
right.
it beautifully, but it doesn't replace us at all. Another
No,
thing
and
they can do is to purchase art for their own walls. To
okay.
go find work that they like. And there is no criticism. Just because you're not trained and don't have a trained eye doesn't mean you can't find beautiful things to put on your wall that really touch your heart. It's really about your life and what you
Yeah,
put around you. So those are pretty simple things that people can do right away to bring more joy, more creativity into your life. Um, as far as healing, it is truly miraculous the way healing art can bring healing. Matter
yeah.
of
And how
fact,
does that work? Like, how does it work? Because I was just thinking again about, because you talked about helping to heal painful past traumas. How does that work? Is it just the reconnecting with the brain? Is it how the right and the left brain communicate, or is it more than that?
Well, there's dendrites. I don't know if you studied about bad thoughts and bad words and bad experiences create these almost look like dead trees that are in our brain called dendrites. And
Okay.
that as we, you know, reduce those thoughts and don't allow them freedom, they literally dry up and go away. And as we replace them with positivity, with saying, I am a creative and I do have a creative half of a brain that I'm going to utilize and find what brings me joy, then it's going to literally replace the negativity that was there in the brain. And
Mm,
I understand it? No, I'm not a scientist, but they do explain that this really truly happens as I think it takes 21 days. You literally can replace negative thoughts in 21 days. And I know I work with people individually, one-on-one. When I have someone in my program, I meet with them 3 to 5 times a week. It's really up to them. Between 15 and 20 minutes a day, because I'm leading them on this path for their greatest right brain brilliant process to find
wow.
out their best brain, their best thinking, their best way to live their life. And it's a
Love
joy.
it. Love
It's
it.
but
Wow.
I've
I
I've seen art heal people. And if you want to hear just two quick stories,
yes, yes,
example,
absolutely.
really specific examples. I had a young teenager. He had been um, really suffering academically because he was not just ADHD, but he also was dyslexic and wasn't having success. His mom brought him to my studio to take classes from me, and he just thrived in the arts. He could draw, he could paint, he started winning competitions, having success. And matter of fact, this one October, he won not just best in his age group, but he was 18. He won best in show for a
Wow.
peak he did in my studio. 3 months later, he had a traumatic brain injury and a stroke that caused him to be paralyzed on the right side.
Oh my goodness.
They didn't even know if he would live, but 4 months later, his mom brought him back to my studio. He couldn't really walk, he couldn't talk, he couldn't communicate, and his right hand, they were working hard to keep it from, curling up. In a very short time, I was able to teach him to draw left-handed and where he could start writing left-handed. And it wasn't very long after that that his neurosurgeon called me and he said, I've never called someone's art teacher before. What are you doing with David? Because not only is he stronger with his weak hand than I am, and I'm a surgeon, but he is improving on his right side because of this. I was like,
Wow.
and
Wow.
he now can talk, he can walk. He still is weaker with his right hand, but he still can write and draw with his left hand. And he's living a quality life that I believe, and according to his neurosurgeon, the art helped heal him. And
I
then I
believe
have
it.
another,
Yeah,
I know,
absolutely.
it gives me
Absolutely. I'm like, I'm chills right now. That's just amazing. Wow.
And I still know this young man, and I'm in his life. And as I listened to him have a complete conversation with me, I just wanted to cry. I was so
Oh,
fully over for him. But
wow.
I also have a student who is an adult student doing great in art when she got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. She was only given like a 6 month lifeline and immediately started going into all the radiation therapy and chemotherapy and had a radical mastectomy and rebuilding. And I was preparing for a great big ceramic room installation piece. And I knew she was good. And I brought her into my studio and I said, help me make this show. She didn't even know if she was going to make it in 9 months. But she
Wow.
started working every time that she could. If she wasn't done under by all these treatments, she would just be working with her hands, working with her hands. And sure enough, she was there for the show, worked the 17 days. I mean, we made porcelain cakes and candies and cupcakes and all of these all these beautiful things, and had a whole show, and even had refinished furniture. People came in thinking they were going to buy chocolates, but they were all made out of porcelain. And not only was she there, but she's now cancer free, and has been now cancer free for 10 years, or 9 years, I guess, so far.
Wow.
And she says, she did all the medical things, but it was what was going on for her
Mhm.
mentally and emotionally, was something to live for and to hope for,
That's
to
right.
be part of every day. And to see that show, and her name, as a creator, was huge in
Oh,
her life.
yeah. Oh,
She's
yeah.
still one of my best friends. I mean, you don't get over that kind of thing,
That's right.
This
That's right.
this this is life-changing stuff that I'm talking about, one person at a time. So
Wow.
that's my dream and my passion, and I'm just happy to share it with your audience.
Oh my gosh, that is so incredible. Karen, this has been just amazing, eye-opening for me for sure. And I know it's going to be life-changing for my audience. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we finish up today?
Well, I would love to have people contact me, if they I have a 3-part free podcast, pop-up podcast that I love to give away, and they can learn more about this, have more ideas on what they can do, maybe to excite their own creativity. And if they wanted to reach out to me, a way to book with me, a call to communicate and see if we can be a match.
And how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach
Yeah,
you?
yeah, KarenDeLoach.com/gift.
Awesome.
Pretty
Awesome.
easy.
And her Facebook group and LinkedIn and everything will be in the show notes as well. So if you're driving, don't write that down. Wait till you get home and pull it up and go through the show notes, and you can reach her there as well. Karen, thank you so much. This has been such a delight for me, and I can't wait to start doing some more of my things now that I know like how it really improves. Because the older we get, you got to be doing something really to keep that brain going. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I knew right away. I said, she's a podcaster, but she's got multiple creative gifts. So you've already shared about painting and coloring and dancing, and obviously you're a creative podcaster. So I just applaud you for, inviting the right brain creative into your own life. So you're a good
Oh,
example.
thank you, Karen, so much. And we'll definitely have to have you back at another time. I don't say that very often. My audience says I don't say that very often, but this is the type of subject that we could just talk about for a very long time. So we'll definitely have you back maybe in about 6 months or so and do a part two. Thank you
Perfect.
so
Thank you.
much. All
My
right.
pleasure.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You
And
too.
thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you on.